Thank you for meeting me.
Yeah, I'm happy to.
Yes. Can you tell me a little bit about what your role is in the law field here in Vermillion?
Yeah, absolutely. So my role here at the law school is the Director of Experiential Learning. So I oversee our clinics, our practicums, our externship programs, and help support some of our pro bono opportunities for students. Also teach a few courses, but basically kind of a shorthand way is help oversee and support kind of all of our student hands-on learning opportunities that students have inside the classroom and also outside the law school in the community.
And what are the opportunities for pro bono work around here?
Yeah, so we have kind of several buckets broadly that they can fall into. So we have some of our formal opportunities that students can do where they are able to receive credit, and those fall into our experiential opportunities. And there's like specific categories that they have formal titles for that I'll use, but we can talk about what that means if that's helpful. So one broad bucket is externships, and those are essentially just like an internship, but students get credit for them, which is kind of the distinguishing factor for them. And that's where a student works with an attorney or a judge outside of the law school, and basically they do whatever legal work that person does. So whether it's a law firm or a prosecutorial office or a nonprofit or work for the judge's chambers, they do that legal work with the judge or attorney. And then the next bucket of things is we have classes that are clinics or practicums, and that is kind of a twofer. They have a classroom piece where they learn skills, legal theory, legal doctrine. But then they also have a piece where they also work with the actual community. So for example, we have a criminal defense practicum where they do criminal defense work. So one piece is they're in the classroom learning what is client interviewing, what are some of the pieces of the criminal justice system, etc. And then they have pieces where they actually represent clients, and they go to the jail and they visit with folks who are, defending cases against themselves that are criminal charges. They appear in court, they go to the office that's helping teach the class, etc. So those are kind of a broad span, and we offer different ones with kind of different specific interest areas. So we have the criminal defense one that I mentioned, we have a criminal prosecution one, and those are both offered in Sioux Falls. So they're the Sioux Falls State's Attorney's Office, the Prosecutor's Office, Sioux Falls Public Defender's Office. We also have a volunteer income tax assistance one that helps folks with preparing their taxes and submitting that. We have the Veterans Legal Clinic one that just helps supports members of the legal community that are veterans and their family. And we have a practicum that works, it's called Works actually, and it helps with folks who have pending family matter issues that meet certain criteria and helps them resolve that. And we also have one called Tribal Wills, and works with folks that live in Indian country, so on reservations, and helps them with like estate work. So we have several different kind of categories and types of work, and it depends on what students are most interested in, what areas of the law they want to learn. They can pursue that. And those are kind of the broad two types of categories for credit. And then we have pro bono, which is when folks aren't able to afford or retain a lawyer, they're able to get assistance at no cost to them. And we have a couple opportunities that the school is able to help students provide. One is already heard Volunteer Legal Society, and they work with an entity in Sioux Falls called East River Legal Services, and they have a few different limited categories they can support members of the community. And then we also have just kind of one-off opportunities that come up. Maybe a community entity will reach out and say, hey, can we, do you want to work with us as a law school to help with an immigration opportunity, or any kind of need that comes up one-on-one or kind of one-by-one, and students can volunteer their time to provide support. And with all of those, students are working under supervision with licensed attorneys to help provide support.
And how would somebody who is lower income and doesn't have access to these go about getting help?
Yeah, so it depends on what they're needing help for, what they're needing assistance on, whether it's a family matter or taxes, etc. So if they're needing something that we specifically offer help for and they meet whatever that criteria is, they can reach out to the professor that teaches the course or offers the assistance. So for example, someone here in South Dakota, maybe in Vermilion, that needs help with a family law matter or with their tax issues, they could reach out to Professor Treves, who oversees Works, or Professor Madison, who oversees the VITA, Volunteer Income Tax Assistance, and say, hey, do I meet the requirements? Can you help me? How do I, contact you? How do I go through the process? If it's more broadly, just kind of like, I have this random issue and I need a lawyer, how does it work? It's a little bit more difficult. We as a law school don't just have the ability to help anyone with any legal issue. Kind of the starting process is sometimes folks will reach out and ask, here's an issue, can you help? We'll look at it and see if we're able to filter them to the right spot. If not, often the right outcome is sending them to the State Bar of South Dakota, which is our association for our lawyers, and they have a couple entities that they can direct them to. One is A2J, our Access to Justice organization that has attorneys across the state who volunteer their time to do pro bono representation, and they can help. Or we have a couple entities that receive funding to do representation, and that'd be East River Legal Services or Dakota Plains. So it kind of is one of those, what do you need, where do you live, and then finding what the right fit is for you. So it's not an automatic that the law school and students are able to support, but if it fits and all the situation and pieces work out, we're happy to do that.
What are the most common types of cases that we deal with here?
Yeah, so I would say the most common cases or areas of the law that we're able to support fall into those categories of the practicums that I mentioned for you, because we're able to build up a program and a class around them. So, and I can reach out to the professors and get you numbers if you're interested in having that. So Professor Simmons, who teaches tribal wills, each fall and each spring actually takes a group of students out to a different reservation each semester, and they draft and prepare trust and estate documents for the community. So this past fall break we had last week, they went to Pine Ridge and we had several students who worked and prepared those documents. So that's a huge area that is worked on every semester. Just depends on what community he connects with and works with. Of course, in the criminal area, we do a lot of that work each year, because our criminal defense and criminal prosecutions practicums are offered each year up in Sioux Falls. And then our volunteer income tax assistance clinic, VITA, is offered every spring. So we do a ton with that. Very limited to the type of work they do, but heavily used by the Vermilion community. And then with the veterans practicum, that is offered every spring. We're trying to also offer it in the fall, so to be determined. The most common work that they see is folks will come in with housing issues. Folks will often come in and need help with, power of attorney documents, trust and estate documents. And a lot of times folks just need help knowing where to go for a resource. So they may have an issue with their veterans benefits, or they may have issues with a will or a possible criminal issue, and they just need to know where to go, what office to contact, where to go for resources. And so a lot of times it's just helping support them and get them to the right contact or the right entity. So those are some of the more common pieces that we tackle. And then of course there's kind of the random one-off things where we maybe support with an immigration matter or immigration project that comes up time to time, or medical, or whatever comes up.
Are there any barriers that are preventing people from seeking help?
Yeah, I think there's substantial baseline barriers. Access to justice is a huge issue for us in South Dakota, especially in our rural communities. There are not enough lawyers to meet the need of what folks have for navigating the legal system, but also just financially being able to pay for what's needed, the knowledge that's needed to access the system as far as what do I file? How do I fill out a form? How do I file it? Where do I go when I do that? Being able to understand, you may be able to go to some things or navigate some things on your own. So pro se is the term for that. But then knowing how to do that. When a judge asks you the question, how do I answer? Or what do I say? What do I do? So just kind of all of those pieces are pretty big barriers to folks. And just having kind of the required skills to navigate the process, to afford the process, and then of course just the baseline of having an attorney help you and guide you through the process.
Are there any improvements that you would like to see that makes it easier for people?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of improvements that we can work to. There's also a really interesting report if you want to look at it. It's a legal needs assessment for legal services in South Dakota that we had published 2 or 3 years ago. And it's a really comprehensive report of the entire state in all of our communities' ability to access the justice system. It looks at our specific groups more at disadvantage, like for example, Native Americans have a more difficult time, our veterans have a more difficult time, our elderly, so vulnerable populations. And then it also looks at who currently is involved in helping and supporting those groups. And then it also looks to kind of suggested solutions. So to your answer, and I would agree with many of the suggestions they have, one being increased use of technology, so making things available maybe by virtual court or virtual filings and things like that. More support and assistance in supporting folks completing forms and filing forms. That's not just a lawyer sitting down and helping you, but maybe that could be a law student or someone else with a little bit more training. There tends to be gaps in difficulty navigating the multiple sectors of the system. So for example, we'll find that folks who are unhoused or folks who've moved many times, they'll need a new social security card or a new birth certificate or insert example. And it's a pretty big burden to figure out what office do you go to and what do you file, and you need a document to get a document, but you don't have the first one, so how do you get the second one? So just getting coordination between how you figure out what offices can give you support and what offices can help you kind of navigate the full system so you can even get into the courtroom and show an ID, etc. And then of course I think having more efficient collaboration with the entities that can help provide legal representation, whether it's pro bono or whether it's a lawyer who's being paid for their work, but just to have more attorneys and law students under supervision who are able to help represent folks for whatever their legal needs might be.
And my last question, have you seen any success stories that this program has made in the past?
Yeah, I think, so I started here December of 2021, so basically 2022. We have grown exponentially our opportunities for students to learn what it means to serve and be a part of the community, to get involved and to also actually be in the community and provide legal services under supervision. We've added a number of opportunities for students to do that. So since my start here, we transitioned what was just a student organization to be a formal opportunity for credit, being the Veterans Practicum. So it's institutionalized, it's structured, it happens every semester. One of our adjunct professors, Professor Travis Hent, who's an attorney in Sioux Falls, does a wonderful job teaching that class and making sure we provide 2 to 3 opportunities to serve the veterans community. So that's an opportunity that never existed, that exists now. We have a criminal defense and criminal prosecution practicum, which are opportunities for students to serve the South Dakota community every year. Those classes are offered each spring. Our VITA, Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, started last year. This will be its 2nd year. Formally, a class offered for credit, which is a great opportunity to serve the Vermilion community. And we're working and kind of always evolving and identifying opportunities to, informally offer opportunities for pro bono or just to offer support to community entities, but also to continue to build formal classes where students can get credit and also serve the community and learn how to be lawyers so they're ready when they get licensed. So I think that's tremendous growth, especially for such a small law school and the only law school in South Dakota.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. That was
Yeah.
very informative.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd be happy to send you, our website, the experiential website has all those listed if
Okay.
you want to review them, and they have the faculty if you want to talk to any of them about what they do. Can send you numbers if you want to know like how many veterans the Veterans Clinic served last 2 weeks ago. We had the clinic, or tribal wills, or I can send you that assessment, whatever is helpful, but also not to dump a bunch on you.
No, that assessment would be really good.
Yeah, I'll shoot that to you by email. Perfect.
Yep,
Is
thank
that all
you.
that would be helpful?